Let us pray. We give thanks to God for the rich heritage of this province as found in our people. We pray that native-born Albertans and those who have come from other places may continue to work together to preserve and enlarge the precious heritage called Alberta. Amen.
Introduction of visitors, presenting petitions, reading and receiving petitions, presenting reports by standing and special committees, notices of motions, introduction of bills, tabling returns and reports.
Member for Cypress Redcliffe.
Speaker, I'd like to table the annual report of the Alberta Water Resources Commission.
Introduction of special guests.
Honorable Attorney General, followed by the member for Innisfail.
It's my pleasure today to introduce to you and through you to the Assembly a group of 8 people, 2 local Rotarians, and 6 guests that are touring Alberta over a period of 6 weeks, people that originate in Australia. They're participants from a cross-section of cultural, business, and educational communities, and I would ask that they rise in the members' gallery and receive the warm welcome of the Assembly.
Innisfail.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's with great pleasure today to introduce to you and through you to the members' assembly 43 visitors from the Innisfail John Wilson Elementary School. They're accompanied by their teacher, Mr. Grant Klemick, Mrs. Brenda Meddy, who is also a parent, and parent Donna Gilray and Trudy Sorensen. They also have a special guest, Carl Nygren, a Swedish student who is visiting Alberta for a year. And also his grandmother is a member of the Parliament of the Swedish Parliament. So I'd like to ask them to rise there in the public gallery and receive the warm welcome of the Assembly.
Ministerial statements. Oral question period.
Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday the Premier said he wants another select committee of MLAs to draw the final map of new electoral boundaries in Alberta. Frankly, Mr. Speaker, what a sham that is. The government's strategy all along has been to gerrymander their boundaries to their own advantage, and this latest attempt is no different. Mr. Speaker, this has led to close to $2 million in taxpayers' money wasted and no boundaries, frankly, Mr. Speaker. My question to the government House Leader, Mr. Speaker, is simply this. How can the government justify wasting even more of taxpayers' money and time when it's obvious that the government, with its majority, will do whatever it wants in drawing up the boundaries?
Mr. Speaker, from the standpoint of the question being directed to the House Leader, I think it's more appropriate to go to the acting Premier.
Speaker, all members of the Assembly have just recently received the report with many addendums and many additional comments. But let's just put in context what has happened over the course of the past year that the member refers to. We've had an all-member committee of this Legislative Assembly. We've had a special committee tour the province. And in the backdrop of all of that, we've had some certainty provided to us with respect to the legal position of the courts in Canada at the Supreme Court level. All of that, Mr. Speaker, has been very instructive to the work of the committees. It is unfortunate that they have not been able to unravel or put before us a unanimous report, but I think the Premier's comments that, in fact, who is better known to form these boundaries, but an all-party committee of this legislative committee, of this legislative assembly, would be, in fact, a good recommendation for us to undertake. It strikes me, though, that if the member of the NDP party, if the member from Norwood across the way doesn't want to participate, I suppose that becomes his loss.
Speaker, we participate all the way along in this charade, Mr. Speaker, and the government members just outvote everybody along the way. And that's what this is all about, Mr. Speaker. And we predicted this process would end in failure much earlier on, Mr. Speaker. And I want to say to the acting Premier then, here's our contribution. Here's our contribution to the Select Committee, Mr. Speaker. It was there before and it's there now, Mr. Speaker. You go through it, you wouldn't have had the problems. And I'd like to file it, Mr. Speaker, with the House, if I may. And my question simply to the acting Premier is this. Will he recognize now that Albertans are sick and tired of these partisan games, attempted gerrymander, abandon the Select Committee, Mr. Speaker, and set up an independent, a proper independent commission?
Speaker, it's unfortunate the member from Norwood takes that extreme position. This is the kind of issue where I think all members should draw together, where all parties should take off their cloak of political position and try to find a position of common interest. It is in the interest of the people of Alberta that we put together an effective framework so that the democratic process can work in this province. And that's what our government is about. You see the grandstanding from the member across the way, suggesting, for example, that a member of the provincial court of Alberta is driven by political motives. Mr. Speaker, that is just reprehensible. And if that is how the process unfolds in his mind, it is no wonder we had the problem we have today.
It had nothing to do with the commission. It was enabling legislation, the rules that this government set up. That's why we have a hung boundary commission, Mr. Speaker. Won't hand us that, Mr. Speaker. We said that at the time. They didn't listen to the amendments. Again, I want to ask the acting Premier, Mr. Speaker, simply this. Will the government now establish, right now, instead of wasting more time, Mr. Speaker, an independent electoral boundaries commission with clear and workable goals, such as 83 seats, such as fairness, such as relation to the charter? And you'll get this done right away, Mr. Speaker.
Good idea.
Mr. Speaker, the member from Norwood again seems to have missed the time continuity here. And in fact, we've had this independent committee already at work across the province. And he also, by the way, had a person who was recommended to be on the committee. The committee members themselves have an opportunity to select an unbiased independent chairman. And it is unfortunate that they came down with this rather splintered report. But in it, Mr. Speaker, we can find at least a consensus in the views of the people of Alberta, which on a principle basis can be reflected and redraft the boundaries. And in my mind, we should all consider, on an open basis, whether or not it is a compromise among the members of the Legislative Assembly to pursue the democratic objectives of providing a free opportunity to vote for members of this Assembly, if in fact it isn't within our will and power to find a resolution. And that's what the Premier has suggested, and I think it warrants more of a discussion than a simple rejection as the Socialist Party across the way has done.
Okay. Second main question, Leader of the Opposition, please.
Mr. Speaker, we've had a discussion for 3 years. That's the problem. But, Mr. Speaker, I want to go from an area where the government interferes too much to an area where it shirks its responsibility. Mr. Speaker, in my riding of Edmonton-Norwood, prostitution is increasing in the backyards, in the schoolyards, in nearly all the residential neighborhoods, Mr. Speaker. It's true not only in Edmonton, but it's also true in Calgary, Mr. Speaker. Now, Mr. Speaker, I want to file with the Assembly copies of a letter that was sent from a group called the Action Against Johns to the Attorney General, and a reply from the Attorney General's Department, Mr. Speaker. Rather than address the issue, the government says all the responsibilities with the federal government. And I want to tell them that didn't impress my constituents at all, Mr. Speaker. My question to the Attorney General is simply this. Why does the Attorney General refuse to use all the administrative tools at his disposal to address this very serious problem?
Hear, hear.
Mr. Speaker, I share with the honourable member and his constituents the frustration and the nuisance that prostitution and Johns and all the various components of that activity in any neighborhood. The backdrop to that letter is that prostitution is a criminal offense. The criminal code is a federal jurisdiction. But there was more to the issue than that, Mr. Speaker, and that related as to whether it was a nuisance or a crime. If it's a nuisance, the jurisdiction is then in the hands of the people who are experiencing that nuisance. If it's a crime, then it's a matter that the police would have to pursue. That was the backdrop to it.
Or what we're basically doing, washing our hands of it.
Right.
The problem is growing, and it's a very serious problem in the inner city, Mr. Speaker, in both cities. And let's look at what the minister does have responsibility for, the administration of justice, Mr. Speaker. Most of these kids out there are underage, Mr. Speaker.
Right.
They're being exploited. And it's a very serious matter, Mr. Speaker, when someone has intercourse with a child, Mr. Speaker. So my question to the Attorney General is simply this. Will the Attorney General now then ensure that Crown prosecutors push for the maximum penalties available under the law against Johns?
Hear, hear.
Mr. Speaker, the Crown attorneys on any matter that comes before the court pursue it with due diligence, asking for the maximum penalty that fits the crime. If the honourable member wants me to answer the first part of his question relating to youth, if there is sexual intercourse with youth under 14, it is most definitely, it is for any youth, but any under 14 is most definitely serious. It's also an offense under the criminal code, but in those instances when you bring them to court, you usually need the victim, in this case the child under 14, to also be a willing witness, and in most instances, not all, but most instances, that becomes impossible. I can assure the honourable member, and I can assure the people who have this going on and the victims, that the Attorney General, his department, this government is very, very concerned about this activity. The honourable member has some very concrete suggestions. We're more than happy to listen to them.
It's a growing problem. The minister may well be concerned, but it's growing, and it's growing and growing and becoming more serious. So let's look at some creative solutions then, Mr. Speaker, and I might throw out one to the minister and see if he'd look into this. Mr. Speaker, would the Attorney General now have his prosecutors seek creative sentences for Johns, like being forced to clean up the condoms and needles in the neighborhoods afflicted with this prostitution, Mr. Speaker? That would go some ways in that direction.
Good idea.
Mr. Speaker, when there's an offense under the criminal code, there's usually a penalty that is meted out for that. I'd be more delightful to take that representation, to also pass it on and see how they can use it. But the discretion on what penalty is meted out is with the courts, which are independent. And again, it would be good for the honourable member to send Hansard to the chief judge to also register his representations in that manner.
Edmonton Glengarry, on behalf of the Liberal Party.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have had it confirmed, Mr. Speaker, that Novotel has been sold and that huge losses confront Alberta taxpayers on the sale of Novotel. The Getty government has created a potential exposure to taxpayers of almost $900 million. $525 million alone are just for the loan guarantees that Alberta taxpayers are likely to have to pick up. My question to the Treasurer is this: what is the exact loss, Mr. Treasurer, that Alberta taxpayers are going to have to bear on this sale?
Mr. Speaker, yesterday in the House, I addressed the matter on questions that were similar to those now put forward by the honourable member. I indicated that there's certainly a lot of speculation that's out there, and I regret that in many respects because it's really very hard on the employees and their families and the suppliers and the customers of Novotel. All I can say is that at such time as the announcement is to be made, we will make that announcement. There'll be full disclosure at that time of any deal that may be announced, and I'm sure that the honourable member can wait in due course.
Mr. Speaker, why is it so difficult to get an answer out of this government? Why is it so difficult when they preach information, freedom of information, and the Premier stands up and says, ask a question and you'll get wheelbarrows full of information? Mr. Minister, I'm asking a question. I expect an answer in this assembly. The second question is to the Treasurer. If he pawns this one off, I guess he doesn't know anything about it. We've got a $2.3 billion deficit that Albertans are looking at. 7 consecutive deficits that this Treasurer has brought forward. I'd like to know what the new figure is, what the new deficit figure is, recalculated for this year, taking into account these losses, Mr. Treasurer.
Speaker, the Honourable Member of Technology, Research and Telecommunication has already dealt with this issue, and if you read his answer correctly, you'll see that there'll be no impact on deficit this year.
Usually the Treasurer blathers on and gives no answer, and he just provides no answer again. Mr. Speaker, my...
Order, please. Order, please. The chair was willing to overlook it the first time. This is the second time. You'll have to listen to Beauchesne 416. A minister may decline to answer a question without stating the reason for refusing, and insistence on an answer is out of order with no debate being allowed. A refusal to answer cannot be raised as a question of privilege, nor is it regular to comment upon such a refusal. A member may put a question, but has no right to insist upon an answer. So now the question, please.
Well, thank you for jumping up and assisting the government minister, Mr. Speaker.
Take your place. Take your place. Take your place. Order, please. Order. Order. Order, please. Order. Perhaps you'd like to give us the question, please.
Mr. Speaker, hundreds of millions of dollars have been spent by Alberta taxpayers on jobs for Albertans. 860 Albertans work in Novotel. Hundreds of millions more for technology to be Alberta-based. I want to ask the minister, what has the minister done? What guarantees is the minister going to give us that those jobs are going to be secured and that technology is going to remain in Alberta?
Mr. Speaker, I can assure the honourable member that the management committee that has been in place for almost a year now has been looking at that objective, that very objective, with respect to Novotel, that if there is a possible future for Novotel to continue what they are doing and have done in the past and project that into the future for the benefit of Alberta, then every objective along that line would be pursued. As a matter of fact, the jobs, the very high-quality jobs that are associated with this company is very much an important issue, and the honourable member is correct in that regard, and everything will be done in order to preserve that technology, to preserve those jobs.
Calgary-Glenmore, followed by Edmonton-Calder.
Mr. Speaker, on March the 17th of this year, the minister responsible for seniors announced a series of public meetings that were to take place across this province. Just recently this week in Calgary Herald, this series of meetings was to take place in Calgary at the end of this month. And that this was a consultative process for our seniors. There's serious concern expressed, Mr. Speaker, in Calgary as to what the government plans to do with this consultative process. Would the minister responsible for seniors please explain his plan once he's received all these written submissions and consultative process?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. As I've mentioned in this House before, some time ago, almost a year ago now, we embarked on a consultative process to involve all seniors in decisions with programs affecting them. Part of that consultative process was to meet with 22 different agencies representing almost 1,000 or 100,000 seniors across this province. But we wanted to go further, Mr. Speaker, and talk to the people themselves. So we arranged 13 meetings to be held across the province. We prepared 10 position papers dealing with a whole range of topics, Mr. Speaker, and asked for their feedback, feedback on those various papers. We're halfway, in fact, we're almost three-quarters of the way through that process, and the results have been very good. What we intend to do with the information that we receive is put it together in the form of an agenda, a rough draft of where we're going in this province in the delivery of services to seniors in the next 20 years or so. The meetings have been very productive and so far to date have been very helpful in our considerations.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I commend the minister for this consultative process, but you have already in place a senior secretariat, Seniors Advisory Council, and you already have information provided to you with regards to seniors and their programs through the member from Bow Valley. I was just wondering why you wouldn't be using these two groups for this consultative process.
Mr. Speaker, we are using those two groups. In fact, those two groups have been very helpful in our deliberations. But this is a very complex issue. We spend over almost $1.5 billion on programs for seniors in this province. We have a population that is going to double within the next 20 years or so, and the issue is very complex. I don't think we can hear enough or discuss the issue enough to satisfy all of the concerns that are being put forward. So we're going to, I guess, leave no stone unturned to make absolutely certain that we have heard from everybody and looked at the issue from every side possible.
Calder, followed by Calgary Northwest.
Mr. Speaker, concerns within the child welfare system are ongoing, and although the Minister of Family and Social Services has requested a review of the child welfare system, the Children's Advocate, in his most recent annual report, has identified serious weaknesses within the system that demand immediate attention. One is the completely unacceptable and destructive way in which adolescents are treated. The report states, Mr. Speaker, that the child welfare system refuses to and even actively resists young people's input into decision-making and planning of their own placements, and basic services are often withdrawn if they disagree with what the department and the system plans for them. So my questions to the Minister: given that this input is so crucial and in fact is required under the Child Welfare Act, how can this minister justify failing to allow input from these young people when it means that many of them will end up unemployed, destitute, and homeless?
Mr. Speaker, first of all, let me say how much I appreciate the good work that our Children's Advocate is doing here in the province of Alberta. I've gained to a tremendous amount of respect for him and for his care for children here in Alberta. In terms of his report, Mr. Speaker, I appreciate recommendations that the Children's Advocate brings forward, not only on an annual basis, but I have the opportunity of meeting with the Advocate on an ongoing basis, and together we're constantly looking for ways of improving the system and being able to better respond to the needs of children that come into our care. I would want to say, Mr. Speaker, that there is every opportunity for children to be able to state their own position with workers within the department, with professionals that we make available to them to provide counseling and supports. And there's also an appeal process in place, Mr. Speaker, again, where individual children would have the opportunity of stating their position. But if there's ways that we can find to strengthen that, to make it even better, Mr. Speaker, we'll look forward to implementing them.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Clearly in this annual report, there is a serious problem with adolescents being able to have input into decision-making. And I hope the minister would take that to heart. It's a very serious issue. And Mr. Speaker, given that I know of a 17-year-old that was given the choice of either living at the YMCA or the Single Men's Hostel, he's in care of the department. Those were his choices, and no one is listening to what he has to say and what he needs. Will this minister take immediate action to ensure that young people currently in care have meaningful input into decisions that affect their lives?
Well, Mr. Speaker, again, it's always very difficult to comment on specific cases when you're not given the file, the name, or all the information that might be involved. But as it relates to individuals, we work hard, Mr. Speaker, to be able to make sure that appropriate steps, appropriate actions, appropriate responses are in place for individuals that come into our care. Sometimes they're in agreement, and sometimes perhaps, Mr. Speaker, they're not in as much agreement as we'd like them to be. But always, Mr. Speaker, we're guided by the very basic principle that we want to do what is best for young people.
Mr. Speaker, the discussion paper on the certification and designation of safety codes officers proposes a number of examinations to ensure that minimum standards are met by these safety codes officers. My question to the Minister of Labour today is this: can the Minister assure those safety codes officers that have been in the field for a number of years that lower exam scores will not be used as grounds for dismissal, but rather as grounds for retraining where it's deemed necessary?
Here. Flipper, way to go.
Mr. Speaker, given that most of the safety inspectors are in fact employees of municipalities, I cannot speak on behalf of those employers or what their practice may be. I can assure the member that those inspectors that are employed by the Department of Labor, their exam results would not be the basis on which their employment would be continued. However, as in all matters, there are performance appraisals done on an annual basis for all our employees, and those are maintained as an ongoing exercise, usually setting out goals and objectives for the following year, and then in consultation with the employee, discussions as to whether the goals were met or whether they were indeed appropriately set. So that is an ongoing exercise in the continuing development and training of our employees.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My supplementary question: the discussion paper was developed without input from sub-councils because the sub-councils have not yet been formed. And I'm wondering, my supplementary question to the Minister is, before the final report is written and completed, will those sub-councils be formed so the people that have the expertise can provide input as to what the guidelines should be for the certification and designation of safety codes officers?
Mr. Speaker, it's a very good point, and certainly the department has been concerned to get the stakeholders involved in setting the standards and the guidelines and the process for ongoing certification. I can't say at this stage whether the sub-councils will have been appointed. I certainly am hoping that they will be, because in fact the sub-councils themselves will be taking on the standard setting and enforcing functions. We would hope that we can have those in place in as short order as possible. In the meantime, what we've been doing, in fact, is working with the various spokespeople and also the associations that represent the various professionals in the area, and also with associations such as the AUMA, Alberta Urban Municipalities Association, and also the Municipal Districts Association. So we have been attempting to keep all of our stakeholders involved in this process because we agree with the member's point that they should be.
Red Deer North, followed by Edmonton Avonmore.
Mr. Speaker, we all know only too well that 7 decades of communist socialism in the former Soviet Union has really devastated the people of Russia and specifically the Ukraine, and we all know that it'll be some time before the ravages of that particular system are able to be thrown off by those good people. That's why Albertans are keenly involved in the present airlift to the Ukraine. I'd like to know from the Minister of Public Works, Supply and Services to what extent there's government involvement in that airlift or possible future ones.
Mr. Speaker, this past weekend in Edmonton played host to a major international air show, and a couple of airplanes came over from the Ukrainian National Air Force to participate, as well as the world's largest airplane, the Condor, arrived in Edmonton as well. That sparked an interest in the Ukrainian-Canadian Congress, the Alberta Division, to, in essence, create a program called Na Zdrovia, and to translate in English it means to health, and ask citizens in Alberta to donate materials for this worthy cause in the Ukraine. The government of Alberta assisted with it and provided through our surplus policy a wide-ranging variety of product that came from various hospitals in the province that had already been declared surplus by individual hospitals, then had been offered to other hospitals throughout the province and had been declined, and only then were these surplus goods made available. Mr. Speaker, there's a wide range of goods. The Minister of Health has virtually made it impossible for anybody to have a cigarette in a hospital anymore, so included in the list were surplus ashtrays, goods that went from ashtrays to bassinets to bedpans to wheelchairs.
Albertans, Mr. Speaker, are known for their open-hearted generosity, though some may raise the question of, in future missions, medical goods, as has already been indicated. Will these always be in the surplus capacity, if I can use a medical term, or will there be a bypass around the health system here? Can we get some assurance on that?
Mr. Speaker, the policy is very clear that once an individual hospital deems a product within its system to be surplus, that product, whatever it is within the healthcare system, offered to all other existing hospitals and healthcare facilities in the province of Alberta. And only after all other healthcare facilities in the province have deemed them to be unnecessary for their particular usage, then these goods come to the Minister of Public Works, Supply and Services for disposal. And the Minister then has authority under his Act to basically either make these goods available for sale or to have them donated to nonprofit organizations throughout the province. And on an annual basis, approximately 2 to 3% of all of these goods are donated to nonprofit groups or other worthy groups within the province of Alberta and disposed of in that way. These materials that were donated to the Ukrainian cause over the weekend came from over a dozen different hospitals throughout the province of Alberta, ranging from the hospital in Medicine Hat, the hospital in Canmore, Smoky Lake, the Grey Nuns, and of course the most recently declared obsolete building, the old Sturgeon Hospital in St. Albert.
Edmonton Avonmore.
Speaker, my questions are to the Minister responsible for Family and Social Services. Mr. Speaker, the budget address promised $2.5 million to deal with violence in the family. We have heard of the priority to be given to treatment for men who batter, but agencies and shelters who want to provide support for battered women and treatment for their children cannot access the needed resources. Will the Minister now commit to funding programs like the one at the Edmonton YWCA, which provides support for battered women as they rebuild their lives?
Mr. Speaker, I've pointed out on a number of occasions in this Assembly that family violence is something that all of us are concerned about. And not only those of us in this Assembly, but society as a whole seem to be focusing more efforts and more attentions towards resolving this very serious problem. The member knows that it is a multidimensional problem, and it does require a multidimensional solutions. And what we're seeing happening more and more, Mr. Speaker, is a partnership. Seems to be coming forward between the federal government, provincial government, municipal governments, and community agencies. The government has outlined a fairly significant course of action. We're going to be expounding on that in the very near future. The municipalities are responding in a more cohesive and effective way. The member is only too familiar with the task force and the studies that were commissioned by the cities of Calgary and cities of Edmonton. They seem to be more active and more willing to work with us in finding solutions, as has the private sector. And the member knows that last year it was one of the prominent law firms here in Edmonton came forward with $75,000 to help fund a batterers program here in the community. It's that kind of cohesive effort. It's not going to be this government alone that's going to find the resources to solve all these problems. It's going to be government working in partnership with other levels of government and with the community.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the women and children trapped in homes that are violent at the present time cannot wait. And recent events in Calgary reveal that violence in the home has serious and deadly consequences in society at large, including the schoolyard. Children who are not assisted in dealing with the emotional damage resulting from the violence in their homes and in learning nonviolent ways of solving problems become violent themselves. Will the Minister now commit to funding programs for children who are witnesses or targets of violent behavior in the home and ensure that such programs would be available in the community, including in schools and child care centres?
Right on.
Mr. Speaker, what I will commit to is to continue to work with my colleagues who share the concerns that the member has just raised and others related to family violence. We're all committed to finding meaningful and appropriate responses. I will commit to continue to work with other levels of government in partnership, to working very closely with the municipal levels of government that are actively looking for solutions and means of responding. Mr. Speaker, I believe it's that kind of commitment, it's that kind of partnership, it's that kind of effort by all of us that hopefully will lead to some meaningful solutions.
Yellowhead, followed by Edmonton Meadowlark.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In response to a question I asked a week ago on the allocation of a major timber quota in the Piers area, the Minister of Forestry, Lands and Wildlife said that he would take under consideration my request that he hold a public meeting or do a survey of the Piers area residents to determine where they stood on removal of the local manufacturing conditions. Given that the receiver has made its recommendation on the allocation of the Piers timber quota, Mr. Speaker, and given that the ball is now squarely in the Minister's court, will the Minister commit to consulting the Piers community before completing his review of the allocation recommendations, and if so, how will this consultation be done?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I've been working very closely with the member for Whitecourt to gauge what the community's concerns are. And also, I should say that the successful bidder with the receiver warehouser is also working with the community.
Mr. Speaker, the Minister's unilateral decision to remove the requirement for the timber to be processed in Piers area is a devastating blow to a small, struggling community which badly needs those jobs a manufacturing operation would provide. What assurance can the Minister provide to the other 19 Alberta communities that have local manufacturing conditions attached to their timber quotas that they won't similarly be betrayed by having these conditions removed by the Minister when the quotas are reassigned?
Well, Mr. Speaker, with all respect, that's really ridiculous comments. First of all, we have a...
Just wait. Whoa. Hold it. You betcha.
Mr. Speaker, in this case, the A&B logging went into receivership. The receiver then had sought other buyers and went to an auction, and a successful company bid the highest. With respect, Mr. Speaker, I said I would only remove the conditions if there were employment opportunities for the community of Piers. In this case, we looked at the employment opportunities. Be sure the wood goes for full value, that the creditors get the best return, and the open market makes the decision. With respect, Mr. Speaker, there's also other conditions in there that would allow some additional employment beyond that in the local community. And so, Mr. Speaker, the community is looking at that, and I'm confident that they will come to the right decision.
Edmonton Meadowlark.
Mr. Speaker, no one can properly evaluate the government's proposed solution to the unfunded pension liability problem without seeing the actuarial assumptions and the actuarial analysis. Why does the Treasurer refuse to release the actuarial data on these public service pension funds?
Speaker, the curious member from Meadowlark, of course, is again wrong. What we have done, Mr. Speaker, since July of this year, when we embarked on a major reform of the pension plans of this province to provide security to those people now receiving benefits under the plan, was to have the widest possible consultation to bring into play the stakeholders' views across a wide spectrum. And in doing so, Mr. Speaker, we made one commitment on July the 9th when I introduced the suggested set of reforms, and that was we would have both open communication, proper consultation, and a full exchange of data. And to this date, Mr. Speaker, we have maintained that commitment, and therefore the member is absolutely out of whack when he makes that kind of serious comment about the disclosure of information.
We have asked many times for that information, Mr. Speaker, and it has been denied by this treasurer. The government refuses to release essential actuarial assumptions to the public, whose money this is that we're dealing with, such as survivor benefits, growth in salaries, age at retirement, and assumed rate of growth in the public. Is the minister avoiding the release of actuarial data to this legislature and to the public at large because he is afraid to reveal that he has assumed an unrealistically high rate of growth in the public service?
Here, here.
Well, Mr. Speaker, all I can say is that the Liberal Party is desperate for questions here today. And it shows up in this kind of very silly approach to this process. 2 years ago, Mr. Speaker, they were here in the legislature condemning the government for not dealing with the pension problem. And at that time, they said that the outstanding pension liability of the province of Alberta under the 5 plans under Treasury was close to $6 billion. Now, Mr. Speaker, let me make it very clear what I announced in September with the support of the many unions across the province of Alberta, the members of the local authorities pension plan, the members of the public service pension plan, Mr. Speaker, and in that announcement alone, Mr. Speaker, we did the following. We reduced the unfunded liability of this province from around $6 billion to less than $1 billion. And we did that, Mr. Speaker, in cooperation with the stakeholders, Mr. Speaker. We went to the people who are involved. We looked at each plan separately, Mr. Speaker, and we designed a unique response to each one of these pension unfunded liabilities. And in doing so, Mr. Speaker, we made a major change in the way in which the unfunded liability is displayed here in the province of Alberta, established once again fiscal discipline back in the province's fiscal plan, and fulfilled a commitment, Mr. Speaker, that we set out to do in the spring of 1991 when I announced to the House that this government was about to embark on and undertake a full and complete reform of the pension plan system in this province. And we have maintained that commitment, Mr. Speaker. We have done it on a reasonable basis in consultation with the stakeholders, and the results speak for themselves, Mr. Speaker.
Order, please, honourable member. Watch your comments. Member for Dunvegan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question today is to the Minister of Transportation and Utilities. We're always very happy in Dunvegan to get construction work because all the natural resources we got in northern Alberta, and you know, the revenue comes from northern Alberta majorities so that we can have programs in central and southern Alberta. However, over the weekend, I've had many phone calls from individual businesses that's bought a lot of promotional gimmicks, if I can use that word, for the amount of people in Alberta and wants to come into Dunvegan and northwestern part of Canada. So, there's a project on 49. I was just going to ask the minister if he could give me the schedule on the work to be done on Highway 49 west of Spirit River so that these peoples won't be inconvenienced.
Mr. Speaker, it's right next to 48. Mr. Speaker, we do have a problem on that particular road, and I'm getting the same phone calls, as a matter of fact, and they have become part of a package where we've got something I'd sure like to clear up. We have 2 bridge culverts on Highway 49 west of Spirit River. One is in the stage of collapse, and the one 2 kilometers west of that is about to show some major signs of fatigue. And so what we're attempting to do, we've issued the contract for the first one when it was determined that the other one was a problem as well. So what we're trying to do is put the 2 projects together and that they would get them done as quickly as possible. I too recognize that the people are trying to prepare for the Alaska Highway 50th anniversary, and we want to be out there as quickly as we can.
Briefly, please.
Well, thank you, Mr. Minister. The sun is shining in Dunvegan today, by the way, and there is no possible way that we could delay those culverts till this cavalcade goes up north and back.
Mr. Speaker, no, for two reasons. The contract is already let to Leadcore. They're on the site. And what we've attempted to do to sort of appease the people of the area is put the two programs together. There's some major savings for all of us. There is a detour of 11 kilometers that is partially pavement and partly oiled. It's already in that condition now, ready for the work that would be done. The intent of the program is to actually dig out the one culvert, move that machine down to the next one. While it's down there, they assemble the multiplate, put it in place and start the packing, then we go back and do it. I think the best I can say, Mr. Speaker, if we do it that way, we may be able to get it done in 4 to 6 weeks, and that would be early July. If not, it's going to be 4 weeks each one of them.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Now that the Minister of Energy has finished his lavish trip gallivanting around the Gulf and is busy now trying to figure out how many millions of dollars more he's going to sink into the Husky Upgraders cost overruns, I want to ask him about the major domestic energy issue, which is the continual decline of drilling activity for oil and gas in the province, Mr. Speaker. Despite the fact that the minister last fall announced a temporary royalty holiday on new production, figures released just last week show that the sale of land leases and licenses are down by millions of dollars, and that in fact 3 land auctions scheduled for this fall are being canceled. Is the Minister of Energy now of the view that his temporary royalty holiday policies have in fact failed, and is he contemplating more permanent changes than the temporary ad hoc royalty policies of the past?
I think you're better than help, Bill. Mr. Speaker, the royalty holiday program that was put in place was as a result of consultation with the Canadian Petroleum Association, the Independent Petroleum Association, the Canadian Association of Oil Well Drilling Contractors, and the Petroleum Services Association. At that time, the majority of those organizations felt that a royalty-free period would increase activity. Oil and gas are two different issues, Mr. Speaker. We confined the program to oil because we have a large inventory of gas, and our priority in that connection is to open up and penetrate into new markets, and that's part of our government strategy. On the oil side, Mr. Speaker, oil is becoming expensive to find, harder to find, and for those reasons there hasn't been the level of activity that we had anticipated. The last part of the question was, is it under review? I have had discussions as recently as last week with senior officials of CPA and IPAC to review that program and determine whether there's other ways the government can help and stimulate activity.
I want to thank the Minister for that comprehensive answer, Mr. Speaker, but to pursue the question of a review of royalties, we noticed that in the throne speech it was announced that the government will conduct a full review of natural resource royalties schedules in the province. Is the Minister today saying that he wants to announce the details of such a review that will in fact have enormous financial implications for oil and gas companies as well as for the financial life of this province, and that such a review will be public and open and immediate for all players to participate?
Mr. Speaker, if I could quote my honorable colleague, the Minister of Culture and Multiculturalism, stay tuned, film at 11.
Minister of Transportation and Utilities, in reply to a question raised earlier by Edmonton Whitemud. Minister.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday the member from Edmonton Whitemud asked questions regarding vehicle inspections being carried out with students. I answered the first part of the program that we have, but I didn't answer the second, and I'm going to do that today. Transport field operations also conduct safety inspections, and we have a field placement program in place where we work in conjunction with the Criminal Justice Program at McEwen Community College in Edmonton. As part of that program, 3 students are assigned for each semester to work with motor transport officers as a trainee in the field. This permits students who are interested in criminal justice and law enforcement careers to get some hands-on experience with an organization whose goals are to protect the highway infrastructure and ensure a safe environment. The students do not conduct CVSA inspections, nor do they initiate any actions in the industry at all. These students are trainees and as such observe the activities of the highly qualified senior motor transport officers who are specifically chosen to work one-on-one with the students. Also, Mr. Speaker, yesterday and after reading the Hansard Blues, I left the impression that the member from Edmonton Whitemud was the one that said the four-laning would not be done on the Yellowhead. It is actually the leader of the Liberal Party who said that in Hinton in 1989.
Edmonton Whitemud, supplementary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the Minister of Transportation and Utilities, my supplementary question: will the minister assure this House that when rigs are shut down, tractor trailers, they are only shut down for failing safety or mechanical inspections conducted by certified trained mechanics?
Basically, Mr. Speaker, that's the case right now, and I use the term highly trained, qualified senior motor transport officers. They are the ones that do the issuing of a shutdown order, not the students, and I pointed that out, and I hope I didn't read into that you didn't want us to hire students.
Thank you. Might we revert to the introduction of special guests? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Calgary McKnight.
Mr. Speaker, I'm very happy this afternoon to introduce to you and to members of the Assembly 44 visitors from Sir John A. Macdonald. They are an English as a second language group to whom we offer nothing but our best wishes. They're accompanied today by Miss Moore, Mr. Ford, and Miss Pato, and parents and helpers, Mr. Gray and Mr. Sage. I ask that they rise and receive the warm welcome of the Assembly.
Orders of the day.
Committee of Supply.